Welcome to this week's video. We're painting this Warlord Games Grav pod that was designed for the Judge Dredd 2000 AD game. And we're kicking things off with Zealot Yellow. Why, are you asking, am I using yellow? Well, stupidly I was watching the Sylvester Stallone Dredd movie and the taxi just looked cool and I had this sat on my desk, so I decided I'm going to do a taxi scheme. It was a silly idea, looking back. It's so much yellow, and then where it's not yellow, it's a lot of checks. So I cracked on the ska music to get the inner check mode moving. I started slapping down this Zealot Yellow. I have no idea how speed paint is going to do on this model. It's a lot of flat panels, which I fully accept speed paint hates. As you can see, I gave it a nice flat grey undercoat, and I also gave what will be the metallics a black undercoat as well as its stand. This is a massive chunk of resin. Warlord Games did a great job with it. I was actually surprised how much I liked it. I was a bit on the fence about buying it, but I am glad I did. I'm gonna put my hands up now. By the time I finish this project, I hated painting yellow. It's just one of those colours that, I don't know, it looks great on a model. On these flat panels, it didn't work as well for me. It would pull awkwardly, as you can see on that door as I've stupidly left it. It was just pulling awkward, and I know why. It's because it's flat panels. The model isn't, the paint isn't designed for the flat panel, it's designed to find the creases and the shady points. But we crack on, and we'll come back once I've finished layering on this yellow contrast. So painting vehicles is probably up there with painting terrain. It's not something I hugely enjoy. Even in my other games that I play, I tend to stray away from vehicles. They don't hugely interest me. I enjoy painting the foot troopers, but vehicles, it doesn't do it for me. But this vehicle, I'm a completionist, so I needed to have at least one of each vehicle that Warlord Games have made. This happened to be the first one I picked up, and I don't know, as soon as I saw it, it screamed taxi to me, so I knew I had to do it. And the iconic one from Judge Dredd is by the Land Rover company. It's bright yellow, has black detailing on it, it has checks. It's a modernized New York taxi basically, and you also can't help but think of things like heavy metal and The Fifth Element with the classic taxi that they have in that cartoon. So I knew I had to do a taxi. It's just, you know, when you think you've had such a great idea and then you start painting it and you're like, oh, why did I do this to myself? It's kind of that scenario for me. If I'd have just done a Go Faster Red Hot Rod, would have been laughing by now. That would have been so easy. Red just sits nicely. This yellow though, it really picks up any issues you've done. Pooling, for example, just makes it go orange. But as you can see, we're getting there. I'm trying to deal with this pooling now. But yeah, we're getting there. It's just the problem is this paint loves to be streaky. I'm trying to get as many of the streaks out as possible and keep the colour nice and flat. We are going to skip forward a little bit, so I'll catch you in a minute. And with the final few strokes, you can see what's going on now. We've got the main viewport still white, the back window's white, the lights, the bumper, and the side panels are white. The side panels are going to ultimately get checks, and the windows are going to be blue. It's just, there's so much flat paneling on this. I really shouldn't have used speed paint. I'd have been better off base coating the model yellow and building up with normal colours. I kind of wanted to see if the speed paints would work on such a flat area. Turns out they don't really, but lesson learnt. Okay, the Zealot yellow is now drying away. It looks okay. We're going to get the magic blue and do the window. As I said, I don't paint to a stupidly high standard. I don't hold myself to a high standard. But I do like neatness. And this one, it's not looking neat and tidy. Not as much as I hoped it would. So this blue is going to be a pretty easy step. It's the main viewport that you can see in the front here. And then it's also going to be the back window. Not very exciting. I end up doing 2 coats on it to make it a bit darker. So we're going to skip so you don't have to watch my big fat hand doing the painting. So the first coat of blue is now drying away. We've got the main viewport and the back window done. I grabbed the Warlord grey if I can get this to focus. This is going to be for the bumper and around the lights at the front here. My reasoning being, it's going to help it stand out. It's not quite a black, but it's a nice dark grey. You can imagine it's almost a metallic-y black bumper. I'm also gonna use this colour for the checks and scoring them in. As you can see, the goddamn pooling on the yellow, it's a bit annoying. I do like the effect it's given some parts of the model. It's just you have to be so on point with speed paint when it's on a flat panel. Things like this bumper, the paint goes on lovely because there's so much detailing and depth to it. On the flat paneling, it's a nightmare. You can see the streaks, it gets pooling. I don't recommend speed paint for flat panels. Use proper paint. Or at least get your base colours down with proper paint and then use the speed paints to add shade. You live and you learn. Hopefully my experiences will guide you with your next mistake. But let's fast forward and you can see the end result of the grey in a moment. So with the final few brush strokes of grey going on, we are gonna attempt the dreaded checks. So I start off with a very shaky hand, highly caffeinated, and I just make some vertical lines all along the paneling. I find the quicker I go, the neater the line, but ultimately there's some shakes. It can't be helped. I then do one long horizontal line as best as I can. So yeah, that first horizontal line was an absolute mess. So I started thinking, oh, I'll just paint them checker by checker, which kind of worked. They're very wobbly. I am way too shaky for checks. But you get the idea. I slowly work my way down, trying to work off that horizontal line. And to be honest, I was cross-eyed by the end of doing 4 panels worth. But I like the effect. Super untidy. You pick up this model and look at it closely. You'll be like, what on the earth were you drinking? But from a distance, I think it looks really cool, and I'm pretty happy with it. On the other side, I tried to switch things up. I went for a horizontal line first, and boy do I shake. Look at it. But I slowly work my way across, and then I start doing the vertical lines, because I realised trying to paint them square by square, that's not working. So I quickly do the vertical lines, which I think this time I was a little bit neater with. They looked a bit more evenly spaced. That horizontal line though is a mess. And I finish up that side, and look at it. It looks pretty good from this distance. Like I said, I'm not winning any awards, but I'm also not entering for any awards. I also use this grey to pick out some detailing on this. I assume it's an escape hatch. Can't imagine this is the way you'd get in and out of a vehicle. So I'm hoping it's an escape hatch. Now the first of 2 panels I was actually dreading. Trying to work out how to do horizontal lines on a very curvy panel was, yeah, it crushed my brain. This was not easy, as I already have the shakes trying to follow a curve and somehow try and do a straight line. It's not easy. If anybody's got tips for doing checks, I will happily take them, as I want to paint a Lamenter up at some point in the near future, and they have checks all over them. I need to practice a bit more. But yeah, I realised this isn't going to be perfect, so I just bit the bullet and got on with it. It was at about this stage that I realised I didn't have to do my checks so bloody small. I could have gone bigger, bolder, gotten away with having bigger squares and less issues. So this is completely my fault. I went for little checks. I don't know why. It's just what I did, okay? Don't judge me, don't judge me. It's also probably a good time to ask for a like, subscribe and all that good stuff. come on, give me a like, give me a subscribe. You've seen this nightmare of checks. I deserve it. Come on, do it. And with the final checks drying, I give it a little spin, and we are almost there. Is it perfect? No. Was it fun? Yeah, hell yeah. So I left it to dry. I didn't want to touch it, didn't want to mess it up, so I let it actually dry for once. And I then grabbed the purple alchemy. I'm using this for its headlamps and its rear lamps. I contemplated using red, but I thought it was too dark. And I thought, you know what? Let's get some pink going. With the lights done, I then broke my own rule. I used metallic paints. I feel dirty. I'm not a fan of metallic paints, but you know what? I needed this done in a quicker fashion. So I grabbed the Canoptic alloy from Games Workshop, and I just used it on the grav unit that's underneath the car. Really nothing that exciting. As you can see from handling the model, I've managed to actually take off the black undercoat that I put on. Don't ask me how I managed that. So this Canoptic layer paint is just going to give it an extra bit of sealed in. I'm just heavily brushing it on. Just want to cover it. It's hidden underneath the vehicle for the most part. You're not going to see it. Especially when I give it a shade wash and dirty up the vehicle a little bit. Most of that detailing's gonna disappear. So just get it on the model. With the final few strokes done, as you can see, the model's pretty much done now. This is tabletop ready. It's not going to win anything. It's a bit of a beast, but I enjoyed painting it. I hope you enjoyed watching. So this is going to be the next stage. I decided the yellow looked a bit naff, to be honest. The pooling, it's fine, but I wanted to clean it up. So I grabbed the Flash Gits yellow from GW, and we are gonna cover the model. Not completely, but I'm definitely gonna use it to brighten it up. It was slow, tedious work. I had to keep building up the layers. This yellow was drying so quickly, I don't know what was going on. It just was not staying damp on the brush, but I worked my way through it. Got there in the end, and as you can see I've brightened it up. It looks a little neater. I'm going to let it dry, we're going to do some weathering on it, and then I'll show you the final photos in a minute. And there we go. Yep, I just used some Agrag Earthshade on the metal parts underneath, and then in any of the trim lining, just really put it in there, not very gently, just let it sit, let it do what it wants. And we have a completed taxi. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.